Listen to me. Everybody out here wants to be a leader. But let me tell you something. A title don't make you a leader. A position don't make you a leader. Leadership is earned. Leadership is when people choose to follow you, not because they have to, but because they want to. If you want to become that type of leader, the type of leader that people respect, admire, and follow no matter where you go, you got to pay the price. Leaders ain't born. Leaders are built, and they're built through consistency, sacrifice, and integrity. You can't lead anybody until you've led yourself. You can't expect loyalty if you don't give loyalty. You can't expect discipline if you don't live with discipline. A leader isn't the loudest person in the room. A leader is the one willing to serve when nobody else wants to. A leader doesn't point the finger. A leader lifts the weight. You want people to follow you? Show them you're willing to go first. Show them you're willing to grind when everybody else is sleeping. Show them you care more about them than you do about your own comfort. The truth is, people don't follow leaders because of what they say. They follow leaders because of what they do. They follow because they see your hustle, your heart, your honesty. They follow because they trust you. And trust is built in the dark when nobody's watching. If you want to become the leader everybody follows, stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? The best leaders give energy, give vision, give courage, give. And when you give all of that, people will follow you anywhere, not because they fear you, but because they believe in you. Before you can talk about leading anybody else, before you can talk about influence, before you can talk about being respected, admired, or followed, you got to learn how to lead yourself first. That's the foundation. That's the part nobody wants to talk about because it's not flashy. It's not on Instagram. It's not on YouTube. It's the part behind the scenes where nobody's clapping. Nobody's watching. Nobody's celebrating you. But let me tell you something. If you can't lead yourself in the dark, don't expect people to follow you in the light. Everybody wants followers. Everybody wants influence. Everybody wants to be that person who commands attention. But you can't skip the first step. The first step is discipline. The first step is controlling your own mind, your own habits, your own schedule. See, it's easy to tell somebody else what they should do. It's easy to post motivational quotes and tell people to grind. But are you doing it when nobody's watching? Are you leading yourself when there's no audience, when it's just you and the mirror, when it's just you and your alarm clock? Some of you want to be leaders, but you can't even lead yourself to get out of bed on time. You keep hitting snooze. You can't lead yourself to stop scrolling and start grinding. You can't lead yourself to put down the junk food and pick up a book. Listen to me. If you can't lead yourself in the small things, nobody's going to trust you with the big things. Leadership doesn't start when you get the position. It doesn't start when somebody calls you a boss. It doesn't start when you get the title. Leadership starts when you decide to hold yourself accountable. And let me tell you, accountability is hard. Yeah, hurts. It means looking in the mirror and saying, I'm not where I should be because of me. It means saying, if I want to change, I gotta make the change. It means no excuses. Real leadership starts with self-leadership. You gotta control your emotions because a leader who can't control themselves will destroy others. You gotta control your time because a leader who wastes time will waste the team's time. You gotta control your words because a leader who speaks recklessly will lose respect. You think people wanna follow somebody who doesn't even respect their own life? No. People want to follow somebody who's disciplined. People want to follow somebody who's consistent. People want to follow somebody who says what they're going to do and then does it. That's why self-leadership is the foundation. Because if you can't keep promises to yourself, how are you going to keep promises to your people? If you can't push yourself when you're tired, how are you going to push your team when they're tired? If you can't sacrifice, how can you expect anybody else to sacrifice for you? Leadership isn't about shouting. It's not about being the loudest voice. It's not about having the fanciest suit or the biggest office. Leadership is influence, and influence comes from example. When people see you show up every day, when people see you stay calm under pressure, when people see you work when others quit, that's when they decide to follow you. They don't follow because of your title. They follow because of your character. They follow because you've proven you can lead yourself, and they trust that you can lead them too. Let me make it plain. If you're sloppy with your own life, you're going to be sloppy with other people's lives. If you can't manage your own responsibilities, you won't be able to manage anybody else's responsibilities. If you can't say no to your own distractions, you won't be able to keep your team focused. If you can't build habits in your own life, you'll never be able to build culture in a group. Leading yourself is the practice ground, the training ground, the gym where leadership muscles are built. Think about it. Every great leader you admire, whether it's in sports, business, history, or life, before they ever led people, they had to master themselves. A great athlete doesn't become a captain because they talk the most. They become a captain because they were already disciplined. They already showed up early. They already worked harder than everybody else. They already demanded more of themselves than any coach ever could. Cool. That's why people follow them, because they led themselves first. And here's the truth. Self-leadership is lonely. Nobody's clapping when you wake up at 4 a.m. to hit the gym. Nobody's cheering when you study for hours while everyone else is out partying. Nobody's patting you on the back when you choose discipline over comfort. But later, when success shows up, when the opportunities open, when the doors start to swing wide, everybody's going to say you're lucky. Everybody's going to say you were born a leader. No, you weren't born a leader. You became one because you mastered yourself. You want people to follow you? Then lead yourself to excellence. Lead yourself to consistency. Lead yourself to integrity. Stop cutting corners when nobody's looking. Stop living two lives, one on the stage and one in private. Because if you're not real in private, eventually people will see through the act in public. And when that happens, you lose respect. Respect is the currency of leadership, and you earn it by leading yourself first. So what does that look like? It looks like discipline every single day. It looks like creating a vision for your life and then living it out. It looks like setting standards and refusing to lower them, even when it's uncomfortable. It looks like telling yourself a no when you want to quit, when you want to slack off, when you want to make excuses. It looks like being honest with yourself about where you are and where you need to grow. I'm telling you, people don't want to follow perfect leaders. They want to follow authentic leaders. Leaders who are real, leaders who admit when they mess up, leaders who show growth. And the only way you can be authentic is if you've done the work of leading yourself. Because when you lead yourself, you know who you are, you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, you know your values, and you're not afraid to stand on them. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start leading yourself, people notice. They see your discipline and it inspires them. They see your consistency and it challenges them. They see your integrity and it makes them trust you. Leadership becomes a natural outcome of the way you live, not a role you have to beg for. People start following you not because you told them to, but because they can't help it. They see something in you they want in themselves. That's the power of leading yourself first. It's the foundation. It's the root. It's the grind nobody sees, but everybody feels. And until you get that part right, you'll never truly be the leader everyone follows. Listen to me. You don't get trust overnight. You don't get trust because you asked for it. You don't get trust because you showed up one time and did something right. Trust is not a gift. It's not given freely. Trust is earned, and it's earned daily. Every single day you wake up, you've got to prove yourself all over again. You've got to prove you're reliable. You've got to prove you're consistent. You've got to prove that when people put their faith in you, you won't let them down. See, everybody wants people to believe in them. Everybody wants people to follow them. Everybody wants loyalty. But I need you to understand something. Loyalty is built on trust. And trust is like a bank account. You don't walk in and withdraw money if you haven't deposited anything. The same way you don't get loyalty from people if you haven't made daily deposits of honesty, integrity, and consistency. Some of you wonder why nobody follows you, why people don't take you seriously, why they hesitate to commit to your vision. It's not because your vision isn't good. It's because they don't trust you yet. They see you say things and not follow through. They see you talk big and then shrink when it's time to deliver. They've seen you make promises and then break them. Trust is fragile. You can spend years building it and lose it in one moment, in one bad decision, in one broken promise. And the crazy part is this. Once people stop trusting you, it takes 10 times as long to win that trust back. That's why you've got to guard it like it's gold. You've got to treat trust like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Without trust, your words don't matter. Without trust, your title don't matter. Without trust, your influence don't matter. People will smile in your face, but they won't follow you. They'll hear your instructions, but they won't move. Why? Because they don't trust you. Trust is not about perfection. Don't get it twisted. People don't need you to be flawless. They need you to be real. They need you to be real. They need you to be consistent. They need you to be honest. If you mess up, own it. If you fall short, admit it. That's how trust grows. Because when people see you're willing to tell the truth, even when it hurts, they know you're dependable. When people see you don't hide your flaws, they know they can rely on your word. Every day is an opportunity to earn trust. You earn it in the way you show up. You earn it in the way you treat people. You earn it in the way you handle pressure. You earn it in the way you do the little things nobody notices. If you say you're going to be there at 6 a.m., you're going to be there at 6 a.m., be there at 5:55. If you say you're going to finish a job, finish it better than expected. If you say you care, show it through action, not just words. I'm telling you, trust is built in the dark. It's built when nobody's watching. It's built when you keep pushing, even though nobody's clapping. Because later, when people see your results, when they see your consistency, when they see your character, that's when trust explodes. That's when people say, I can follow this person. I can depend on them. I know they won't fold under pressure. I know their word means something. And here's what I need you to get. Trust is daily. It's not something you earn one time and then you are done. No, it's like a plant. You can't water it once and expect it to grow forever. You gotta water it every single day. You gotta nurture it. You gotta protect it. Because the moment you stop feeding trust, it starts to die. So let me ask you, what are you doing daily to earn the trust of the people around you? Do your friends trust you? Do your coworkers trust you? Do your coworkers trust you? Does your family trust you? If the answer is no, then don't blame them. Look at yourself. Look at your actions. Trust is built by showing up and doing what you say you do over and over again. And if you can't keep promises to others, start with keeping promises to yourself. Because if you can't even trust yourself, how do you expect anybody else to trust you? Some of you, you got big dreams. You want to build businesses. You want to lead movements. You want to inspire thousands. But let me keep it real. None of that will happen if people don't trust you. They won't invest in you. They won't commit to your vision. They won't put their reputation on the line for you. Not because they don't believe in the vision, but because they don't believe in you. And that hurts. But it's the truth. But here's the good news. You can start today. You can start earning trust right now. You don't need anybody's permission. You don't need a title. You don't need recognition. All you need is discipline. All you need is integrity. All you need is consistency. You show people through your actions that your word is law, that when you say it, you mean it, and when you commit, you deliver. And over time, people will follow you anywhere because they know you're solid. Think about the people you admire most. Why do you respect them? It's not just their talent. It's not just their talent. It's not just their intelligence. It's their trustworthiness. You know they'll show up. You know they'll be honest. You know they'll keep fighting even when it's tough. That's what makes them leaders. That's why people follow them. And if you want to be that kind of leader, you've got to earn trust every single day. You got to protect it. You've got to value it. And you've got to understand that without it, you've got nothing. With it, though, with trust, you can move mountains. You can inspire a nation. You can change lives. And because people don't follow titles, they follow trust. Listen to me carefully. You don't get to be a real leader just because you sit in the big chair. You don't get to be a leader just because somebody gave you a title or a nameplate on the desk. Leadership is not about commanding people. Leadership is about serving people. That's the secret nobody wants to hear. Everybody wants the glory. Everybody wants the attention. Everybody wants the respect, but they don't want to serve first. They don't want to sacrifice. They don't want to roll up their sleeves and get dirty. But if you study every great leader, every single one, you'll notice they all had one thing in common. They served first. They didn't wait until they had power to serve. They didn't wait until they had authority to give. They started where they were, serving people, meeting needs, taking care of others. And because they served first, people naturally gave them the right to lead. See, when you serve, you earn respect. When you serve, you build with loyalty. When you serve, people look at you and say, if they care enough about me, then I'll follow them anywhere. The problem today is too many people want to skip the serving part. You want to command before you've proven yourself. You want to boss people around, but you haven't shown them you care. You want the team to sacrifice, but you're not willing to sacrifice yourself. That's not leadership, that's dictatorship. And the truth is, nobody follows that willingly. They might obey it because they have to, but deep down they're waiting for a way out. They're waiting for a real leader who shows up to serve. Listen to me. Leadership starts with humility. It starts with asking, how can I help? Instead of, what can I get? It starts with putting the team's needs before your own. It starts with carrying the load, not just giving orders. A real leader doesn't stand behind their people and push them forward. A real leader stands in front and pulls the weight first. They show the way. They prove it can be done. And because they go first, others are willing to go with them. You got to understand something. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You can have all the knowledge, all the strategy, all the ideas, but if people don't believe that you care about them, they won't follow you with their heart. They might give you their hands for a while, but they'll never give you their soul. They'll never buy into your vision. Serving proves you care. Serving shows your heart. Serving says, I'm not above you, I'm with you. And that's what makes people follow with loyalty. Think about the greatest leaders in history. They all served. They ate last so that people could eat first. They worked the hardest so that people could rest. They put their own safety, their own comfort, their own desires on the line for the sake of others. That's why their names are remembered. That's why their people would go to war for them, would sacrifice for them, would follow them into danger. Because they knew their leader wasn't in it for himself. He was in it for them. So many of you want people to respect you, but you don't respect them. You want people to give you their best, but you give them your leftovers. You want loyalty, but you're selfish with your time, selfish with your energy, selfish with your resources. That's not leadership. Leadership is sacrifice. Leadership is service. Leadership is saying, I will carry this burden with you. I will fight with you. I will bleed with you. I will do whatever it takes to make sure we win together. That's what serving before commanding looks like. It looks like showing up early to prepare so your team has what they need. It looks like listening when someone has a problem instead of brushing them off. It looks like cleaning up the mess, even if you didn't make it. It looks like staying behind to finish the job so others can go home to their families. It looks like making decisions that benefit others, not just yourself. And don't get it twisted, serving doesn't make you weak. Serving doesn't mean people will walk all over you. Serving makes you stronger because it builds trust. Serving makes you respected because it proves your heart. People don't see service as weakness. People see service as strength. They see it as love. And love is the most powerful force in leadership. When people know you love them, when people know you're willing to serve them, they'll give you more than effort. They'll give you loyalty. They'll give you belief. They'll go the extra mile, not because you told them to, but because they want to. That's the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss commands, a leader serves. A boss demands, a leader inspires. A boss takes, a leader gives. And here's the part you've got to get. The greatest leaders in the world didn't start out by commanding armies or corporations. They started out by serving one person at a time. They started out by helping where they could. They started out by putting others before themselves, day after day. And eventually, that spirit of service grew into influence. People started to notice. People started to follow. And before they knew it, they were leading not because they wanted to, but because others insisted they lead. See, real leadership isn't claimed. It's granted. People grant you leadership when they see you serve. People give you permission to lead them when you've proven that you're willing to sacrifice for them. That's why you can't skip the serving part. You can't jump straight to command. You've got to earn it, and the way you earn it is by serving. Ask yourself, what have you done for the people you want to lead? What sacrifices have you made? What weight have you carried? What struggles have you shared with them? If the answer is nothing, and don't be surprised when they don't follow you. Don't be surprised when they don't trust you. Don't be surprised when your words fall flat, because words without service are empty. But when you back your words with service, when you prove your commitment with action, people will follow you without question. The truth is, serving before you command isn't just a principle, it's a lifestyle. It means every day you wake up asking, who can I help? How can I make life better for the people around me? And when you live like that, people start to see you differently. They see you as a leader, not because you told them you are, but because you showed them you are. The difference between people who make it and people who don't. The difference between leaders people follow and leaders people forget. It's not talent. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even connection. The real difference is consistency. Anybody can show up one time. Anybody can be great for a week. Anybody can grind when they feel motivated. But real leaders, the ones people respect, the ones people follow, they show up the same way every single day. Consistency is the secret sauce. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it doesn't get applause every day. But it's what separates the amateurs from the professionals. Think about it, everybody's motivated on January 1st. Everybody's in the gym, everybody's posting goals, everybody's talking about their new life. But by February, by March, most people quit. Most people quit. Most people fall all. And then they wonder why they don't get results. It's not because they didn't start strong, it's because they couldn't stay consistent. A leader is someone people can count on. A leader is not hot one day and cold the next. A leader is not showing up for the fire on Monday and disappearing by Friday. A leader is steady. A leader is reliable. A leader is consistent. That's why people follow them. People don't want roller coasters. People want stability. They want to know that when you say something, you mean it every single time. They want to know that when you show up, you're going to bring the same energy, the same standard, the same commitment no matter what. And I get it. Consistency is hard. It's boring sometimes. It means doing the same thing over and over again. It means sticking to the plan when you don't feel like it. It means grinding when the excitement wears off. But let me tell you, that's where greatness is born. Greatness is not in the big, dramatic moments. Greatness is in the small, consistent actions repeated day after day after day after day. Everybody wants to be a legend, but nobody wants to repeat the basics. Everybody wants to win championships, but nobody wants to practice free throws every morning. Everybody wants to lead companies, but nobody wants to wake up early every single day and do the same little disciplines that keep the business alive. The truth is, consistency is what builds credibility. People don't follow you because you did something big once. They follow you because you keep showing up, because you keep delivering, because they know you're not going to vanish when it gets hard. Think about trust for a second. How do you trust someone? You don't trust them because they were good to you one time. You trust them because they've been good to you every time. That's consistency. And leadership works the same way. People will follow you if you're consistent. But if you're up and down, if you're on and off, if you're committed today and lazy tomorrow, people will stop taking you seriously. They'll stop following because they can't count on you. Consistency is what gives your words power. Anybody can make promises. Anybody can give speeches. But if your actions don't line up with your words consistently, nobody will respect you. The reason people listen to some leaders and ignore others is not because one is smarter than the other. It's because one is consistent and the other is not. Consistency makes your words credible. Consistency makes your example undeniable. And I need you to understand this. Consistency is not about perfection. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have bad days. But consistency means even on the bad day, you still show up. Even when you're tired, you still give effort. Even when you don't feel like it, you still push through. That's what separates leaders from the rest. The average person does things when they feel like it. Leaders do it whether they feel like it or not. That's the thing. Consistency compound. One workout doesn't change your body. One speech doesn't make you a great leader. One good day doesn't transform your life. But if you keep showing up, if you keep repeating the right actions, if you keep stacking good days on top of good days, over time it adds up. That's when transformation happens. That's when credibility is built. That's when people start following you because they've seen the pattern. You can't expect people to commit to you if you're not consistent. You can't expect people to trust you if you're unpredictable. You can't expect people to believe in you if you keep disappearing when it matters. Leadership is not about flashes of greatness. It's about a steady flame that never goes out. People follow fire, but they trust a fire that burns consistently, not one that flares up and dies down. Some of you keep wondering why doors don't open. You keep asking why people won't invest in you, why they don't take you seriously. It's not because you're not capable, it's because you're not consistent. They've seen you start and stop too many times. They've seen you make promises and not follow through. They've seen you talk big and then fade out when the grind gets heavy. People are waiting to see if you'll finally stick to something. And until you do, they won't believe in you. But here's the good news. Consistency is a choice. It's not about talent. It's not about being born with something special. It's about discipline. It's about deciding no matter what, I'm going to show up. No matter how I feel, I'm going to keep moving. No matter the obstacles, I'm going to stay on track. That's all. So I'm going to stay on track. That's all it takes. And when you make that choice daily, you build momentum. And once momentum builds, people can't deny you. They'll have no choice but to follow because they've seen your consistency with their own eyes. Consistency is what builds culture. In your family, in your team, in your business, people mirror what they see. If you're inconsistent, they'll be flaky. They'll be flaky. They'll be flaky. If you're committed every day, they'll learn to be committed too. That's why consistency is not just about you. It's about everybody you want to lead. You're teaching them how to live through your example. If your example is unstable, don't be surprised when your people are unstable. So many people waste years of their life waiting for the big break. They want one lucky opportunity to change everything. But let me tell you the truth. Opportunity doesn't come to people who are inconsistent. Opportunity comes to people who are consistent because opportunity needs reliability. Opportunity needs someone who's ready when the door opens. And the only way you're ready is if you've been consistent every single day before the opportunity shows up. That's why you can't afford to take days off mentally. That's why you can't afford to disappear when you don't feel like it. That's why you can't afford to be hot and cold. Every day you choose to be inconsistent, you're breaking trust, you're delaying opportunities, you're weakening your leadership. But every day you choose consistency, you're building trust, you're preparing for opportunities, you're strengthening your influence. Listen to me. Leaders aren't remembered for what they did once. Leaders are remembered for what they did every day. Consistency is the legacy. Consistency is the reason people talk about you long after you're gone. Consistency is the reason people follow you even when it's hard. Because they know no matter what, you'll be there. You'll show up. You'll deliver. That's the power of being consistent. Listen to me carefully, because this right here separates the leaders from the followers, the winners from the excuse makers. If you want to become a leader, everyone follows. You got to take responsibility. Not sometimes. Not when it's easy. Not when it's convenient. Not when it's convenient. I'm talking about every single day, every single situation. No matter how tough, no matter how unfair it feels, you own it, you carry it. You take it on your back like it's yours, even when technically it ain't yours. Because when you take responsibility, you take control. And when you take control, you take power. Some of you right now are living in the land of excuses. You're pointing fingers, you're blaming your boss, your parents, the government, your environment, your lack of resources, your team, your friends, your city, your past, your struggles. As long as you keep pointing outward, you'll never grow inward. As long as you keep saying it's their fault, you'll never have the authority to fix it. Leaders don't sit around waiting for somebody else to solve the problem. Leaders look at the mess. They look at the storm. They look at the storm. They look at the setback. And they say, it is on me. I'll fix it. I'll carry it. I'll make it right. I need you to understand this. When you blame others, you give them your power. You hand over the keys to your life, your progress, your leadership. But when you take responsibility, even for things that feel outside of your control, you take those keys back. You grab the wheel and you start driving again. That's why people follow leaders who take responsibility. They trust them. They see someone who doesn't run from problems, but runs toward them. They see someone who doesn't throw teammates under the bus, but steps in front of the bus and takes the hit for the team. That's leadership. You ever notice how the greatest lead in history, The ones people still talk about centuries later weren't the ones who said, it wasn't my fault. No, they were the ones who said, it happened on my watch, so it's my ability to fix it. That's why people remember them. That's why people follow them. That's why people would lay their lives down for them, because they didn't shift the blame, they shouldered the burden. And listen, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, yeah, but what if it's not my fault? What if it really was someone else's mistake? What if the situation was unfair? I hear you, but let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it wasn't your fault, because if it's in your life, if it's in your circle, if it's in your environment, then it's your problem to deal with. Leaders don't waste time assigning blame. Leaders spend their energy finding solutions. You can either sit there and play the victim, or you can step up and play the leader. But you can't do both. Let me make it real. Imagine you're on a basketball team and one of your teammates misses a defensive assignment and the other team scores. You can turn around and point, shout, complain. Oh, it's your man. That's your fault. Or you can take responsibility, talk to your teammate, adjust the defense, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Which do you think builds trust? Which do you think makes people want to play with you, fight with you, win with you? The leader isn't the one who keeps pointing out mistakes. The leader is the one who takes ownership and creates solutions. Taking responsibility also means taking responsibility for your own failure. I'm talking about looking in the mirror and saying, I messed up. I didn't prepare enough. I wasn't disciplined enough. I let myself down. I let my team down. Do you know how powerful that is? Most people will spend their whole lives avoiding those words, hiding from accountability, making excuses. But the leader looks at failure and says, it's on me. And because it's on me, I can fix it. I can grow. I can rise. That kind of honesty, that kind of courage makes people respect you. They will follow you because they know you're not fake. You're real. And here's the truth. Responsibility is heavy. It's not easy to carry. That's why most people drop it. That's why most people run from it. But the very weight that makes responsibility so hard is the same weight that builds leaders. It's like the gym. You don't get stronger lifting feathers. You get stronger lifting weight. The heavier the responsibility you carry, the stronger you become and the more people you can lead. That's why you can't run from it. You've got to embrace it. You've got to say, a pilot on. I can handle it. I was built for this. Taking responsibility also requires humility. It requires you to admit that you're not perfect, that you make mistakes, that you don't have it all figured out. And let me tell you something. That humility doesn't make people lose respect for you. It makes them gain it. Because when they see a leader who admits mistakes, they see a leader who's human, who's real, who's trustworthy. Nobody wants to follow someone who pretends to be flawless. People want to follow someone who can admit when they fall, but also gets back up and keeps moving forward. Let me give you a personal example. I didn't get here by being perfect. I made mistakes. I failed. I fell short. But every time I fell, I didn't point fingers. I didn't blame my environment. I didn't say, well, my parents weren't around or I grew up in the wrong neighborhood. No, I said it's on me. I took responsibility for my choices, my discipline, my grind. And because I took responsibility, I took back my power. That's how I got here. That's why you're listening to me right now. Not because I was born great, but because I chose to take responsibility for my life when it would have been easier to blame someone else. So let me ask you, what in your life are you avoiding responsibility for right now? What situation are you blaming on someone else? What problem are you pointing at instead of carrying? If you want to be a leader that others follow, that's where you got to start. You got to stop saying, oh, they should fix it, and start saying, I'll fix it. You've got to stop saying, that's not my job, and start saying, if it needs to be done, it's my job now. When you take responsibility, your mindset changes. Instead of waiting for opportunity, you create it. Instead of waiting for direction, you set it. Wait. Instead of waiting for rescue, you lead the rescue. That's the difference. And once people see that in you, once they see that you don't run from responsibility but embrace it, they will follow you. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. So every single day, I need you to wake up and ask yourself, What can I take responsibility for today? Where can I step up? Where can I carry more weight? Where can I lead? Where can I lead? Because responsibility is not just about solving problems. It's about showing character. And character is the foundation of leadership. Without responsibility, you can never build trust. Without trust, you can never build influence. Without influence, you can never be a leader. If you want to be a leader everybody follows, you have to show courage. Not talk about it, not wish for it, not post quotes about it. You have to live it. Courage is the difference between the ones people remember and the ones nobody talks about. And let me tell you right now, leadership is not about being comfortable. Leadership is not about doing what's easy. Leadership is about stepping into the fire when everybody else is running out. It's about facing the storm head on when everybody else is hiding. If you want to be that leader, you've got to show courage. And not just once in a while, but every single time it's required. The truth is, most people are scared. Scared to fail. Scared to look foolish. Scared to take risks. Scared to stand up for what's right when everyone else is silent. And that fear paralyzes them. That fear keeps them from leading. But the ones who rise, the ones who people follow into battle, into business, into life, they're the ones who show courage. Not because they don't feel fear, but because they refuse to let fear decide for them. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of fear. That's what makes it powerful. You gotta understand, people are watching you every single day. Whether you know it or not, people are watching how you react to pressure, how you handle adversity, how you deal with uncertainty. And if they see fear, if they see hesitation, they won't trust you. But if they see courage, if they see you step forward when it's risky, if they see you make the tough call when it's unpopular, if they see you take the shot when everything's on the line, they'll follow you anywhere. People are hungry for courage because courage gives them hope. When they see you walk into the unknown, it gives them the strength to do the same. Courage is not just about the big dramatic moments either. Sometimes courage is in the small daily choices. It's the courage to wake up earlier when your body says no. It's the courage to say no to distractions when everybody else is indulging. It's the courage to have that hard conversation instead of avoiding it. It's the courage to admit when you don't know something, to ask for help, to stay humble. Those little acts of courage build trust. And over time, people begin to look at you and say, that's my leader. That's the one I want to follow. Now don't get it twisted. Courage will cost you. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you friends sometime. It will cost you approval. Because when you show courage, you're going to stand out. You're going to make decisions that aren't popular. You're going to take stands that others are afraid to. But that's exactly why people follow courageous leaders, because they see someone who won't bend just to fit in, someone who won't compromise just to be liked. You don't get remembered for playing it safe. You get remembered for stepping up when it mattered most. Let me make it plain. Think about history. Every major movement, every major change, every breakthrough happened because someone showed courage. Somebody said, I'll go first. I'll take the hit. I'll walk this road even if I walk it alone. Eventually, because they show courage, others follow. That's how revolutions start. That's how companies are built. That's how families are transformed. It all begins with one person willing to say, I'm not afraid to step forward. And here's the part you got to keep deep in your spirit. Courage, contagious. When you show it, it spreads. When you take that risk, when you face that fear, when you refuse to back down, people around you start believing they can too. Your courage becomes their courage. Your boldness becomes their boldness. That's why you can't afford to shrink. That's why you can't afford to hide. Somebody's breakthrough is connected to your courage. Somebody's destiny is tied to your willingness to step up and say, I'm not backing down. I remember times in my own life when courage was the only thing I had. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the connection. No. I didn't have the background, but I had courage. I had the courage to keep speaking even when nobody was listening. I had the courage to believe in myself when nobody else did. I had the courage to walk into rooms where I didn't belong and say, I deserve to be here. And it was that courage, not talent, not luck, not money, that got me to where I am today. You don't have to be the smartest, the richest, or the most skilled. But if you got courage, you can lead. Now, some of you right now are sitting on dreams you've never chased because you're waiting for the fear to disappear. Let me save you some time. It won't. Fear doesn't vanish, but courage grows when you act. The more you step into fear, the smaller it becomes. Every courageous act builds muscle, builds confidence, builds leadership. People aren't inspired by your comfort. They're inspired by your courage. They're not going to follow you because you stayed safe. They'll follow you because you stepped into the unknown and showed them it could be done. Courage also means standing for what's right, even when it's unpopular. Anybody can follow the crowd. Anybody can say what's easy. But leaders, the real ones, they have the courage to speak truth, to live with integrity, to fight for justice, to protect people even when it costs them. That's why people follow them. Because deep down, people are craving someone who won't sell out, someone who won't bow down, someone who will hold the line no matter what. When you show that kind of courage, you won't have to beg people to follow you. They'll be lining up behind you. And let's be real. Courage isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it looks messy. Sometimes it looks like failing publicly. Sometimes it looks like being embarrassed. But that's the price of leadership. You gotta be willing to take those hits, to take those risks, to put yourself out there. If you're not willing to look foolish, sometimes you'll never look fearless. People respect the one who tries and fails more than the one who never tried at all. Listen, your courage will be tested. Life will put you in situations where everything in you wants to back down. The voices in your head will scream, or don't do it. Play it safe. Protect yourself. But leadership requires you to silence that voice and move anyway. And when people see you move in moments where fear is loud, they'll trust you forever. Because they'll know if you can show courage in the storm, you can lead them through anything. I need you to get this. Courage is not just for you. It's for the people you're leading, the ones counting on you. Your kids, your team, your community, your family, they need your courage. They need to see you take risks. They need to see you stand tall. They need to see you believe when everybody else doubts. Your courage gives them permission to rise. Your courage tells them, we can make it, we can win, we can survive this. That's why it's non-negotiable. That's why you can't hide it. So stop waiting for courage to feel easy. Stop waiting for the fear to disappear. Stop waiting for approval. Start stepping up, start speaking out, stop moving forward, even with your knees shaking. Because that's what leadership looks like. People don't want a leader who's fearless. They want a leader who's courageous. And if you show it consistently, they'll follow you through fire, through storms, through anything, because they'll know you won't fold under pressure. If you want to be a leader, everyone follows. You can't lead through intimidation. You can't scare people into loyalty. You can't threaten people into greatness. Real leadership is about inspiration, not intimidation. Anybody can bark orders. Anybody can raise their voice. Anybody can create fear, but only a real leader can inspire people to move when they don't feel like moving, to give when they don't think they have anything left, to believe when they've lost hope. Yo, that's the difference between a boss and a leader, between a dictator and an influencer. People might obey intimidation, but they'll only follow inspiration. Intimidation might get short-term results, but it will never get you long-term loyalty. You might get people to show up because they're afraid of the consequences, but you'll never get them to give their heart. And listen to me, leadership is not about compliance. It's about commitment. It's not about people doing the minimum because they're scared. It's about people giving their maximum because they're inspired. Fear will get people to work when you're looking, but inspiration will get people to work when you're not in the room. And that's the true test of leadership. What your people do when you're not around. You've got to decide. Do you want people to follow you because they have to or because they want to? When they have to, they'll always look for a way out. But when they want to, they'll stay, they'll fight, they'll sacrifice. And the way you earn that kind of loyalty is by inspiring them, by giving them a vision that's bigger than their fears, bigger than their doubts, bigger than their excuses. That's what leaders do. They light a fire inside people, not under people. They don't push people from behind with threats. They pull people forward with vision. And let me keep it real with you. Intimidation is weak leadership. It's lazy leadership. Anybody can yell. Anybody can make someone feel small. Anybody can say, do it or else. But inspiration, that takes heart. That takes consistency. That takes you living in a way that makes people respect you, not fear you. Because respect lasts longer than fear. Respect builds trust. Respect makes people say, I want to follow that person, not because I had to, but because I choose to. Think about it. Who are the people you admire most in your life? The ones who made you believe you could be more, or the ones who made you feel like you were never enough? Who left the deepest mark on you? The teacher who told you you never amount to anything, or the one who believed in you when you didn't even believe in yourself? That's the power of inspiration. It transforms people. Intimidation breaks people down. Inspiration builds people down. And inspiration builds people up. And leaders who inspire don't just get results. They create transformation. They help people become better versions of themselves. But let me be real with you. To inspire others, you've got to live inspired yourself. You can't give what you don't have. You can't tell people to chase their dreams if you're not chasing yours. You can't tell people to be disciplined if you're not disciplined. Inspiration comes from authenticity. People can smell fake a mile away. If you want to inspire, your words have to match your actions. You gotta live in a way that makes people say, if they can do it, so can I. Your life has to be the evidence. Inspiration is not just about big speeches or powerful words. It's about how you carry yourself every day. It's about your energy, your passion, your consistency, your attitude. It's about showing people through your life that the grind pays off, that sacrifice is worth it, that discipline produces results. When people see you living it, when they see you overcoming, when they see you refusing to quit, that's inspiration. That's what makes them follow you even when the road is tough. Here's the thing. Intimidation creates fear, and fear creates distance. People will obey you, but they'll never trust you. They'll never open up to you. They'll never give you their best because fear doesn't allow vulnerability. But inspiration creates connection. Inspiration makes people feel safe to give their all, safe to take risks, safe to fail and get back up. When you inspire, people don't just follow you, they believe in you. And when they believe in you, they'll run through walls for you. I need you to understand this. Great leaders don't use people. They empower people. They don't say, do this because I said so. They say, let's do this because we believe so. Inspiration is about vision, about values, about purpose. When you give people a reason why, when you connect their effort to something bigger than themselves, you don't have to intimidate them. They'll push themselves harder than you ever could. People will run faster for a cause they believe in than for a command they fear. And don't get it twisted. Inspiring doesn't mean being soft. It doesn't mean you don't demand excellence. It doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. It means you set the bar high, but you lift people to meet it instead of shoving them toward it. It means you challenge people, but you also encourage them. You call out their greatness, not just their flaws. You make them see what they're capable of, not just what they're doing wrong. And when you do that, you get effort you could never force through intimidation. Let me tell you something. When you inspire, you don't just change performance, you change identity. People start to see themselves differently. They start to believe they're capable of more. They start to carry themselves with confidence. That's what true leadership is about. Not just changing what people do, but changing what they believe about themselves. Intimidation makes people smaller. Inspiration makes people bigger. I've seen in my own life. I didn't get here by intimidating people. I got here by inspiring people. I got here by sharing my story, by being real about my struggles, by showing people that if a high school dropout who lived homeless for years could turn it around, then they could too. That's inspiration. That's what makes people say, if I can do it, I can do it. And that's why they follow. Not because I scared them, but because I inspired them. You've got to decide every single day. Am I going to lead with fear or am I going to lead with faith? Am I going to make people smaller or am I going to make people bigger? Am I going to push people down or am I going to lift them up? Because the choice you make will determine the kind of leader you become. And let me tell you something. The world doesn't need more bosses. The world doesn't need more bosses. The world doesn't need more dictators. The world needs leaders who inspire, leaders who give people hope, leaders who make people believe again. So the next time you're tempted to yell, to intimidate, to threaten, stop yourself and ask, how can I inspire instead? How can I light a fire in this person? How can I make them want to give their best? Because when you figure that out, when you start inspiring instead of intimidating, you'll never have to force people to follow you again. They'll follow because they want to. They'll follow because they believe in you. And more importantly, they'll follow because you believe in them first. Listen to me carefully, because this one right here is what separates average from great, the forgotten from the unforgettable, the people who talk about leadership from the people living. If you want to be a leader, everybody follows. You've got to sacrifice comfort for vision. You cannot chase comfort and vision at the same time. They don't live in the same neighborhood. Comfort says to stay in bed, hit the snooze button, take it easy. Vision said to get up, grind, push, sacrifice. Comfort whispers, you've done enough. Vision shouts, there's more inside of you. And if you want to be the kind of leader people willingly follow, you got to choose vision over comfort every single time. Let me break it down for you. Comfort is addictive. Comfort feels good. Comfort makes you think you're winning when in reality it's robbing you. Comfort is a trap. Comfort is a trap. It'll trick you into believing that the easy road's the right road. But listen to me, no great leader in history ever got there by chasing what was easy. They sacrificed. They gave up sleep, gave up leisure, gave up comfort zones, gave up instant gratification. Why? Because the vision was bigger than their feelings. The vision was worth the price. And that's the truth. You cannot lead others if you're not willing to pay the price yourself. People don't follow leaders because of how comfortable they look. People follow leaders because of how much they're willing to endure for the dream. They follow leaders who sacrifice because sacrifice proves belief. You can talk vision all day long, but if you're not willing to give up your comfort for it, nobody's going to take you seriously. Why should they? If you don't believe in your own vision enough to sacrifice, why would anybody else? You've got to be willing to let go of things that feel good in the moment to gain the things that last forever. That means late nights, early morning. That means saying no to distractions, no to easy money, no to the things that pull you away from your purpose. That means missing out sometimes while everybody else is partying, while everybody else is taking it easy, while everybody else is doing what feels good. You're locked in, you're grinding, you're chasing vision. And when they see that, when people watch you sacrifice comfort for vision, they start to believe. They start to say, if they can give it all up for the dream, maybe I can too. That's when they follow. And don't get it twisted. Sacrifice doesn't mean suffering forever. Sacrifice means trading short-term comfort for long-term greatness. It means giving up what's easy now so you can have what's extraordinary later. It means planting seeds instead of eating them. Leaders think long-term. Leaders don't live for the moment. They live for the mission. And because they sacrifice, they get results that other people only dream about. But here's the hard part. Your comfort zone is going to fight you. Us going to scream. It's going to scream. Don't change. Don't risk it. Your comfort zone is like a cage, and every time you try to leave, it pulls you back in. But vision requires you to break out of that cage. Vision requires you to step into uncertainty, into pain, into discomfort, and that's scary. But listen to me, growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you're comfortable, you're not growing. If you're growing, you're not comfortable. Leaders embrace that discomfort because they know it's the price of progress. Let me make it plain for you. Think about an athlete training for greatness. They sacrifice comfort every day. They push their body past the point of exhaustion. They wake up before the sun. They eat what they don't want to eat. They train when nobody's watching. Why? Because they see the vision. The championship, the victory, the legacy. Comfort can't give them that. Only sacrifice can. And the same is true for leadership. You want people to follow you, show them the sacrifice. Show them you're willing to pay the price. Show them the vision means more to you than your feelings. I remember when I was starting this journey, there were nights I didn't sleep. There were days I didn't eat what I wanted. There were times I had to say no to hanging out, no to fun, no to things that would have been easy. But I had a vision, speaking to the world, changing lives, giving people hope. And that vision was worth every sacrifice. People didn't start following me because I was comfortable. They started following me because I was committed, because I was willing to give it all up for the dream. And when they saw that, They knew I was real. They knew I wasn't just talking. They knew I believed enough to pay the price. That's what leadership looks like. You go first. You make the sacrifice. You set the standard. You show the people around you what it looks like to give everything for the vision. And because they see you sacrifice, they'll sacrifice too. Because here's the truth. Nobody's going to sacrifice for your vision if you're not willing to do it first. You've got to bleed for it, sweat for it, grind for it. When they see that, they'll trust you. They'll follow you. Not because you told them to, but because you inspired them through your sacrifice. But listen, sacrifice isn't just about what you give up. It's about what you gain. Every time you sacrifice comfort, you gain discipline. You gain strength. You gain credibility. You gain influence. And those things are worth more than any temporary comfort. That's why great leaders don't regret their sacrifices. They look back and say, it was worth it. Every early morning, every late night, every tear, every ounce of pain, it was worth it because it built me. It built my team. It built my legacy. Some of you are wondering why people don't follow you, why they don't trust your vision. It's because they don't see the sacrifice. They hear your words, but they don't see the work. They hear your goals, but they don't see the grind. And until they see you give up your comfort for your vision, they won't believe you. You got to show them. You got to prove it. You got to live it. That's the price of leadership. And let me tell you something else. Sacrifice doesn't just change how people see you. It changes how you see yourself. Every time you sacrifice, you prove to yourself that your vision matters more than your feelings. Every time you sacrifice, you strengthen your own belief. Every time you sacrifice, you separate yourself from the average, from the comfortable, from the crowd. And that builds a confidence that can't be shaken. That's why sacrifice is not just about leading others. It's about leading yourself first. So I need you to ask yourself right now, what comfort are you clinging to that's holding you back from your vision? What habits, what routines, what excuses are keeping you in the cage? And are you willing to let them go? Because until you do, you'll never reach the vision. You'll never lead at the level you're capable of. Leadership is not about what you keep. It's about what you're willing to give up. And the ones who give up comfort for vision are the ones who end up leading the world. If you want to be a leader, people don't just hear, but feel. You've got to communicate with your heart. Not just with your mouth, not just with facts and numbers, but with something deeper. Because let me tell you something. People don't follow information. They follow inspiration. They don't follow code, empty words. They follow passion. They follow emotion. They follow authenticity. And the only way you can give them that is if you stop trying to sound perfect and start speaking from a place that's real. See, too many of you are trying to impress people with how smart you are, how many degrees you got, how big your vocabulary is. But that's not what moves people. You ever been in a room where somebody had all the stats, all the data, all the PowerPoint slides, but nobody cared? And then somebody else got up with no notes, no script. Just raw energy, raw honesty, and suddenly the whole room shifted. That's the difference between communication from the head and communication from the heart. One gives information, the other gives transformation. When you communicate with the heart, people can feel it in their bones. They know you're not faking. They know you've lived it. They know you're not just repeating something you read. You're sharing something you survived. And that's what people connect to. That's why I tell you all the time, don't try to be somebody else. Don't copy somebody else's style. Don't water yourself down. Just be you. Be raw, be real, be honest. People don't want perfection. They want connection. And connection only comes when you're willing to be vulnerable enough to share I'll give you an example. When I tell my story about being homeless, about sleeping in abandoned buildings, about eating out of trash cans, that's not easy for me. That's not something I say to brag. That's my truth. That's my pain. But when I share it, people lean in. Not because it's glamorous, but because it's real. Because they can see themselves in that pain. They can see themselves in that struggle. And when I show them I made it through, suddenly they believe they can make it through too. That's the power of communicating with heart. It gives people hope. And here's the thing. When you communicate with heart, you don't even have to try hard to convince people. They can feel it. You don't need fancy words. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to memorize a script. All you need is to care. All you need is to love the people you are talking so much that they feel it in your voice, in your energy, in your eyes. People may not remember every word you say, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that feeling is what keeps them coming back. That feeling is what makes them follow. You ever notice when someone's speaking from the heart, their voice changes, their energy shifts. Their words may stumble, but their passion makes up for it. That's because the heart bypasses the brain. It goes straight to the soul. That's why when you hear certain songs, you cry. When you hear certain stories, you get goosebumps. It's not because the notes were perfect. It's because it came from a place that was real. That's how you got to communicate if you want to lead people. Stop trying to be perfect. Start being present. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to impact. Now, let me tell you why some of you struggle with this. You've been taught that leadership is about being tough, about hiding your feelings, about being untouchable. You've been taught that vulnerability is weakness. But let me flip that on you. Vulnerability is strength. When you're willing to open your heart, you're showing courage. You're showing people that you're human, just like them. And when they see your humanity, they trust you more. They respect you more. They're more willing to follow you, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Think about the leaders you admire the most. Was it their perfect speeches that moved you, or was it their ability to speak directly to your heart? Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just give information. He gave vision, he gave passion, he gave heart. Nelson Mandela didn't just talk about justice. He lived it, he bled for it, and when he spoke, you could feel every ounce of pain and hope in his words. Mother Teresa didn't try to sound impressive. She spoke from compassion, from love. That's why their words still echo generations later, not because they were polished, but because they were powerful, and power comes from the heart. So if you want to be the kind of leader who doesn't just get heard, but gets followed, you got to communicate with your heart every single time you open your mouth. Whether you're in a meeting, in front of a crowd, or just talking to one person, ask yourself, am I speaking to their head or am I speaking to their heart? Because people can argue with logic, but they can't argue with authenticity. They can dismiss your fast, but they can't dismiss your passion. Well, here's the part you got to catch. Communicating with heart doesn't mean being reckless with your emotions. It doesn't mean crying every time you speak or oversharing every detail of your life. It means being intentional with your authenticity. It means choosing to share the parts of your story that connect, that heal, that empower. It means aligning your words with your values so people know you're not just talking, you're living it. And that's another thing. When you communicate with heart, your words and your actions have to match. You can't speak about sacrifice if you're not sacrificing, You can't preach discipline if you're not disciplined. Because when people sense a gap between your words and your life, they won't trust you. But when your words are backed up by your actions, when your communication is rooted in truth, people will follow you anywhere. Because they know you're not selling them a dream. You're showing them one. Some of you think leadership is about titles and positions, but let me tell you something. Leadership is about influence, and influence is built through communication. If you can't move people with your words, you'll never move them with your vision. The vision stays stuck in your head unless you can express it in a way that makes people feel it. And the only way to do that is to open your heart. That means when you talk to your team, don't just give orders, give reasons. Don't just assign tasks, share the purpose. Don't just say what needs to be done. Say why it matters. Connect the dots between the mission and the person. Show them how what they're doing contributes to something bigger. That's heart-centered communication. That's what makes people want to give their all. And let me tell you, when you communicate with heart, you're not just leading people, you're changing them. You're planting seeds in their spirit that may grow years later. You're giving them courage they didn't know they had. You're reminding them of their worth, their potential, their greatness. And that kind of impact lasts way longer than any paycheck or any temporary motivation. That's legacy. I've had people come up to me years after hearing me speak, telling me they changed their life because of one thing I said. And most of the time, I don't even remember saying it, but they do. Why? Because it came from my heart and it hit theirs. That's the kind of leader you gotta become. The kind who doesn't just talk, but transforms. The kind who doesn't just instruct, but inspires. The kind who doesn't just lead with a title, but leads with love. So every time you step into a room, every time you open your mouth, ask yourself, am I speaking from the head or am I speaking from the heart? Am I trying to sound smart or am I trying to make an impact? Am I trying to impress people or am I trying to impress people? Because at the end of the day, people don't follow leaders who impress them. They follow leaders who move them. And the only way you move people is if you're willing to communicate with your heart.